Okay, this is a quick video. I just wanted to talk about the importance of asking questions and understanding what needs a question, what you can research on your own, and how not to be annoying asking a ton of questions. All right, so to start, my name's Olivia. I work in nonprofit finance. I am the finance director of a small nonprofit acting as CFO. So there is no CFO position. Technically, I am the CFO. And I make videos on corporate life, working now hybrid for my 9 to 5, but also building a business. So entrepreneur, solopreneurship, and all of that, all the like. So if you like those videos, please feel free to come on back. And if you're here for the new manager series, I will be continuing that next week. So Managers 102. All right. So this video, the importance of asking questions. And I think that a lot of us don't want to ask questions, especially the higher up that we get on the corporate ladder or even just in our own business. We feel a little ashamed asking questions of things that we feel like we should know. So we place a lot of assumptions on ourselves and others as far as what we should know, and just not really talking or communicating across departments. So I think that there's a lot of communication issues that arise when we just don't ask questions. I can give you a perfect example. The very first time I realized that asking questions was of the utmost importance at my level, at any level, is when I was talking to HR about overtime. Well, what I called overtime, because I know overtime to be time and a half. And that really means that you get paid your hourly rate times 1.5, time and a half. So I was explaining to them how all of these people were getting overtime pay, and I didn't understand why. And they kept saying, it's not overtime, it's time and a half. And it seemed like they were holding on to this notion that to me just kind of sounded pedantic. What's the difference? Who cares if it's overtime or time and a half? It's still the pay times 1.5. But upon further questioning and asking, why is it time and a half and not overtime, I gained understanding that overtime is technically only when an employee works 40 hours or more. Now, the distinction here was time and a half was paid because it was a holiday that was worked. So on holidays, we have a policy where if you are not full-time and you're not banking a day, a comp day, you will be paid at your rate times 1.5, so time and a half, which just so happens to be the equivalent of the overtime rate. So those little nuances mean nothing to me in finance because at the end of the day, the number is the same. But those differentiators mean the world to HR because in their scope, they need to ensure that this is not called something that it's not. And I wouldn't have understood that if I didn't ask, what is the difference? Because to me, it makes no difference. To them, it makes the world of difference. And I think when we start talking in circles, that's when it's time to backtrack and realize that there need to be some clarifying questions asked. So one of the biggest types of questions that I think need to be asked are clarifying questions. And these arise when you're in conversation with somebody and you're just not getting far because either you keep talking in circles or there's just an issue that you're not getting the root cause. So if you know weeds, you attack the roots of weeds so that they don't continue to grow back. And when we're talking to people or when we're analyzing situations or trying to solve problems, I try at least to get to the root of the problem or the situation. So in order to get to that root, some communication needs to happen. And I need to be clear, if I'm the one searching for a solution, why this is happening or how this happened in order to come up with a viable solution or solutions. So when you're thinking about things, you want to ask clarifying questions to make sure that your understanding is the correct understanding within the context of the issue that you're dealing with. And this can be at any level. So when I was an intern, for example, I didn't understand the purpose of, doing some really simple stuff. When I was in public accounting, there was, I don't know if this is still a thing with all the technology now. There was technology when I started, but it just wasn't as advanced as AI and things. So we would have to tick and tie financials. For the life of me in the beginning, I didn't understand why, because you're trusting me, the intern, to do this, but somebody else would also look at it, of course. So just trusting that the numbers are correct, but verifying. And once I understood the importance of attention to detail and making sure, again, in print that everything is correct, as well as what was reported digitally is correct, is extremely important, it made a lot more sense, and I felt a lot more important in doing what I was doing. It didn't just feel like busy work. So if you have something that you don't understand why you're doing it, ask. And not in a condescending way, but to clarify, say, I really want to understand how this process came about. I'd love to find ways to make it better, or I'd love to, find ways to do things differently if there is a way, so that it's less time consuming. Can you give me some background on how this came about, who it's for, and, why we keep doing it? I think just asking those clarifying questions helps not only you, the person doing it, but if you're a leader, you want some context as to why you're doing a number of things that you're doing, especially if you're inheriting leadership from someone else. It's different when you're building something from the ground up. Then you already know and you can assess along the way, I hope. But if you've just kind of inherited something that somebody else built, it can be difficult to break out of patterns and understand how to make things better if you don't understand the purpose for everything to begin with. So when I came into my role, I really loved asking 1,000,001 questions. And it might have been annoying, but it's been able to help me make things more efficient, optimize processes, and eliminate some processes that just don't need to be done, because we just get so used to doing things a certain way. It's difficult to break out of that or see the gaps in where things aren't serving a purpose anymore. So those are clarifying questions. Questions I also think you need to ask are more so of yourself, and these are challenging questions. These are questions, am I challenging myself enough? Is this issue as simple as I think it is? These are questions you can even ask of colleagues. If somebody comes to you, gives you a problem, listen. Let me backtrack. A key point of asking questions and just working in general, it can be corporate, it can be nonprofit, it can be government, it can be anywhere, is listening. I'm never quick to find a solution until I hear all of the facts, or all of the facts that can be made known to me at that time. If one of my direct reports comes to me and needs my help with an issue, I listen to what the issue is, and I ask what they think the solution is, or how they think something happened, or what do they think could be done differently first. Because I don't want to give anybody all of the answers, not that I have them all, but I also don't want to bias my thoughts or let my own self-bias creep in before I hear everything that they have to say. And I think that it's so easy to come in and say, yeah, well, why don't you do this way, and this way, and this way? But you're not listening to what somebody else's needs are. So I can come in and say, this makes no sense, redo all of this, but it doesn't work for that person's workflow or that department's workflow. So you need to challenge yourself to think outside of the box. Think outside of the box, listen more, and ask questions of others that may challenge their thought process or their thinking respectfully. Don't go up in there just questioning everything and giving people a sense of insecurity in their work or a sense of resentment and anger because they might have been doing something very well and now here you are questioning them 1,000,001 times over. So, clarifying questions first, challenging questions next. And then the final questions we need to ask, again, a little bit of ourselves and also of others, is how much can I do? So it's questioning capacity. And this kind of leads into your work-life balance, because if you are overworking and burning the candle at both ends, you can't possibly do the best or produce the best quality work that you could if you weren't always putting out fires. So what I like to do is try and prioritize my day at the beginning of the day and figure out what needs to get done today versus what can wait until tomorrow or later in the week. And then I try and move on from there. And if I finish everything that I prioritized, can I move to the things that I move to the next day? Or is there a little bit of a passion project? And passion at work doesn't necessarily mean passion at home for me. It just means something that I've really been trying to get done or trying to put some time into, like rewriting policies or updating SOPs, which are standard operating procedures, or just something along those lines that's not urgent, but does still need to get done at some point in time. So getting a passion project done, getting some time in for a stretch goal. For example, me, I'd love to get into writing grants. So maybe I can read 10 or 20 pages of my grant writing book that I have in my office. Now, I can't do that if I'm working the entire day plus the time I get home. Capacity-wise, do I have capacity to handle these issues? And if I don't have capacity, speaking to somebody and asking if they have, suggestions or potential solutions, or if they have time or people who have time to assist in the ways that they can. You may not have the same level of expertise as somebody else, the same way they may not have the same level or depth of expertise as you. So if you are seen as a subject matter expert, then there's only but so much you can delegate if you work directly with that subject matter all the time. Quick cut in here, and it's dark because I turned off the light that I had. So I just wanted to really quickly go over something I realized I missed in the video. And two things. One is how not to be annoying when asking a ton of questions. And the way that you frame the questions is very important to the other person understanding why you're asking a bajillion and one questions. So if you're framing the questions, just rattling them off, I've had enough, please go away. If you're framing them as, I really want to understand this, I think I'm lacking this context, or I don't quite understand this, it also frames the question in a way that better helps the responder give you a response that you're looking for. So not just a response that you're looking for, but maybe the response that you need. So you might be looking for something, and somebody with more experience, usually somebody who's more of a mentor or a leader who can really identify what it is that people might be lacking skill-wise or comprehension-wise. It's not a knock on you. Don't take it that way. They can respond in a way that will exceed or maybe not be the way that you expected it to be, but still be helpful to you. Actually be helpful, not helpful. You think you might need it one way and they're able to explain it or say it in a way that's just much more digestible for you to understand. So framing is everything when asking questions. Framing and just being cognizant of that person's time. Hey, do you have a few minutes? I have a few questions about this, and this is where I'm coming from. Asking first always gives that consideration to them, that you understand that you are busy, they are busy. Please, let's make this brief. Or please just respect the fact that I'm a person that has things to do as well, and I need time to get done the things that I need to get done. Another thing is, when is the right time to ask questions versus when is it time to research on your own? And this one is a little tricky because I would say I 99.9% of the time like to look something up first if it's not something that comes up in the moment during a conversation. For example, if I'm ruminating on something that's been an issue in my department or been an issue at the agency overall, maybe I'll do a quick Google search, or if it's something regulatory, I'll look up the law for whatever it is, and hopefully that gives me a baseline idea of what I need to know. Now, if it's a cross-departmental issue, I may look something up before a meeting, if I know I have a meeting, just so that I'm aware of some of the terms that the other department might use, or just so I have a general knowledge, understanding of an overarching question or issue or process or whatever the heck it is. Just so that I have a baseline knowledge. I don't have to have all the knowledge. I can ask more questions in the meeting, but at least I came prepared. If I know what the meeting's going to be about, I'd like to not just go in cold anytime. I don't like surprises. If I can prevent a surprise, and that's the very risk-averse side of me speaking, I would prefer to prevent a surprise. When you're asking a question versus when you're researching, just put some thought into it. Is it something that can easily be searched? Like, is it an acronym that I could look up? If it's an acronym that I can't find, yeah, sure, I'm going to ask somebody. I'm not going to keep using the acronym or just, not ask somebody and be clueless. So use a little bit of your own caution. So those were 3 types of questions. And just to recap, clarifying, where we might be talking to other departments or even within our own department, and just trying to get an understanding of how things work, why things are so technical sometimes, like in my case with HR, and just how people think. Because we don't all think alike, and I think that it's beautiful when you have thought diversity at work. Then the next are challenging. How can I step outside of the box? How can I make something better? How can you make something better? What do you think went wrong? Something that really pushes you to use critical thinking. Or something that you kind of just do because it's part of the monotony of your day-to-day. What can you do to make this a little bit more present for yourself? How can you put a little bit more thought into this? Or how can you automate it? That's a little bit of a challenging question right there, but it also saves you time. Then finally, capacity. Is there capacity to handle this new project, this new task, this new issue? And I guess capacity in and of itself isn't a question, like a clarifying question, not an adjective to the question. So it's not clarifying, it's not challenging, it's just a question of, is it feasible So feasibility questions. Is this something I can get done? Can it be done? And what will the final product look like if I do take this on? Yeah, I hope that helps. I'll see you in the next one, which will be hopefully next week. I'm really trying to get better and more consistent. I say that all the time. Girl, stop saying that. But thank you so much. Here are some other videos you may like that YouTube will recommend to you from me. And I hope I see you again. Thank you so much for subscribing. 859 subscribers. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Y'all are amazing. I appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Peace.